My name is Emmanuel J Galvan, and I will be 28 years old this September. In martial arts, I started training when I was 3 years old. The reason I started training was my older brother started me up, and he's also a master instructor in Taekwondo, so he's been training all his life. And I started when I was 3 years old here in Brownsville doing Taekwondo. After that, I mean, this was back in the day when it took you a long time to get a black belt. I mean, it took me 11 years to get my black belt in Taekwondo. Started when I was 3. I didn't get until I was 14. And after that, I mean, I had been fighting for a long time, been a red belt for a long, long time, right before black. And then I got my black belt. And right around high school, what happened was that I got in a fight. And first, I defended myself really well. I ended the fight quickly, and the guy didn't want to fight anymore. I knocked him out. He didn't want to fight anymore. After that, the next day, he tackled me, coming out of around a corner, tackled me, and we just rolled around for like about 5 minutes until the security guard separated us. I didn't throw a punch, he didn't throw a punch. But what happened was that I learned, I was like, I was already a black belt, and I couldn't defend myself in that situation. What did I need to do? I need to start learning more. I need to start learning everything, anything that I can. Everything that's going to help me to be a better overall fighter in any situation. So I started looking that up, and then that's around the time the Gracie started fighting in the UFC. So I'm like, hey, look, that's new, that's different. Let me try that. Started looking around. There wasn't any places here, so it was basically learning by ourselves. You know, going to seminars here in Houston and San Antonio and Harlingen, places like that. That some people would come and teach some seminar. We would go and train there, and then you know, I never really had an instructor, so I sort of gave up on training Jiu-Jitsu, so I went into other martial arts. I tried doing Aikido. One of my master instructor for Taekwondo, he also teaches Aikido, so I started doing that. So it took me about like 6 years, and I got my black belt in that also. I started training there. And then finally, in 2003, we were always thinking about opening up a school, Galvan's Martial Arts. You know, my older brother is a master. You know, I've been training. My younger brother trains with us too, so we wanted to open up a school. So in 2003, late 2003, September 2003, we opened up a school, and around that time was the time that I went with William Vondry, and I drove all the way to Austin just to talk to him about how can I be a student. You know, it was his idea to say, hey, you know what, you're doing pretty good, you're a smart guy, you're already opening up a school, how about we start an association, let's see how that goes. I'm like, all right, fine, let's do it. So we continued through there, and after that, in Jiu-Jitsu, he's been my instructor, and I've gotten all the way blue, purple, brown, and black through that. So, I mean, I was very happy that actually, we were the first public school of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the whole valley, you understand? So that was really, really neat. Well, actually, in reality, like, Taekwondo is my mother art. I tell everybody, you always have to have a foundation in something. It's just like, I don't want to compare myself to like Lyoto Machida, but I understand where he's coming from. He has that mother art. He does Shotokan Karate and then done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and everything else. That's what I do. Taekwondo is my mother art. It's a kicking art. But ours is different. There's two styles of Taekwondo anywhere. You either do Olympic style and you just use your feet and no hand techniques, or the traditional style. We do a lot of self-defense, learning how to fight with a knife, with a stick, learning how to defend ourselves, kicking and punching, locking and throwing, doing all the self-defense that comes from that art. You understand? So it's a lot of that. Aikido, it was made popular by Steven Seagal. So if you guys ever seen any of these old movies that he did back, I think it was like the early 90s, late 80s, something like that, it was extreme Aikido. It was great Aikido, locking and throwing. So if somebody comes over and grabs you or throws a punch, we grab the wrist and using their momentum, their energy to throw them into a certain spot or get them into a wrist lock or throw them and pull them and take them down to the ground, things like that. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu basically is, you know, well, everybody knows now, but they think about it like the UFC. I tell everybody, no. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is an art in itself. You understand? MMA is completely different and completely separated from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know? So what I tell everybody, learn how to take people down, learn how to keep control of the situation, and learn how to lock and choke. That's all the extra stuff. The positional work is the key for everything. All right, well, number one, my curriculum, I write my curriculum usually a year in advance. So I write down every single day that's working. And every 3 months, like in quarters, like your taxes, what I do is I change themes. All right, so the last one, I did 3 months of half guard work from bottom. So you're underneath half guard, how to get out, how to sweep, how to lock, how to flow, and how to do all that. This month, I decided we're going to do our stand-up. We're going to do 3 months of stand-up. Our first month was going to be self-defense, regular self-defense against punch, kicks, takedowns, things like that. We're on the last week of the month. And then next month is going to be defense against judo throws. And then the third month is going to be defense against wrestling takedowns. So I don't really teach it as like a self-defense art, just a self-defense art. I tell you that learning every possible position and every possible movement, you know, helps you out. You understand? So that's one of the things that we do. That's another thing that I do in my school. I do 3 months up, 3 months down. That means 3 months I'm doing stand-up work, wrestling and judo throws, and 3 months ground we're doing jiu-jitsu and, you know, movements or whatever we're going into that particular thing. I'm gonna tell you the truth. It was kind of weird, and I know it's kind of nerdy, but I consider myself a martial arts nerd. You understand? I read up like. The last book that I read was In the Dojo by Nick Lowry, and it talks about the etiquette of training in Japanese dojos in Japan. And to me, it's like, you know, I don't know anybody else that reads that kind of stuff. When I was a kid, I grew up from 3 years old to now, 25 years of me studying martial arts and training in martial arts, and never taking more than a month off from training. You understand? And what happened was that I know all the other kids, and back in the day, they loved Troy Aikman. Everybody wanted to do the perfect quarterback pass and things like that. That wasn't me. What I wanted to do was, honestly, I saw those movies, the Karate Kid movies, when they're doing their forms in front of a waterfall and stuff like that. And I know it sounds nerdy, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the perfect martial artist. And that's what I needed. I needed to know how to fight, learn how to do all this stuff, and do all that aesthetically pleasing martial arts, real beautiful movements that I see all these masters do. Why can't I do that? I want to do that. You know, to me, basketball, I did basketball. It wasn't for me. I tried football. It just wasn't for me. All the other sports, soccer, it just wasn't for me. And then I always would come back to the martial arts. So that's all I have. That's all I need. I've trained with almost everybody in the valley, and in the beginning we didn't have a whole lot of associations or schools or things like that. We trained out of garages. We trained out at other people's schools. We would invite somebody from McAllen. Hey, come over, man. Let's roll. Hey, from Harlingen. Hey, come over. Let's roll. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. Let's roll. And now it's so organized. Everybody has a team. Hey, everybody has an instructor, a black belt instructor, and everybody's moving up. In my school, myself, I have 3 brown belts, and I'm like, sometimes I think back to it, and I'm like, wow, I started with me, a white belt. I'd say training with my girlfriend, training with my little brother, my older brother, and a friend. It was 5 of us, and you know where we trained? We trained in my bedroom. I moved everything out. I had bunk beds when my brother was sleeping there. Moved everything out. Didn't have anything but my bed and a 10 by 10 puzzle mats. And all it was puzzle mats and the carpet. So it worked fine as long as we didn't hit the wall, and we're doing techniques, doing this. We went to a seminar. Hey, let's go back and do that. And I mean, like now, you guys can see I have a bunch of students. There's schools everywhere. It's amazing. It really is. And I didn't know it was going to become so popular. And I'm really happy that I started at the grassroots, at the very bottom, when nobody had a school, nobody had an instructor, nobody had a black belt that we can go and confide to. You know, now everybody does, and that's awesome. I think that's great, man. William Vandry, he's a third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Carlos Machado. He's trained with all the Machados, and Carlos is his main instructor out of Dallas. He started in Killeen, and now he has his headquarters in Austin, Texas. Right now, he has 8 associations under him in Texas, and I think we're looking into at least like 2 or 3 more by the end of the year. So, I mean, we're pushing ourselves to get more and more students in there. Yeah, Master Davis is one of our master instructors for Taekwondo. He's the head of the South Texas region for our Taekwondo. He's a 7th degree black belt for our Taekwondo, and he's the one that leads us into all of our things. So I have fun, man. That's what I do. It's kind of bad because I don't consider it work. I just come in, I play. That's it.